One of the things to keep in mind as you create your social media content going into 2026 is that the one thing that's most important for you to remember is that the ingredient you need is not the right words, it's not the right tools, it's not clever editing, it's not technology, it's not cool new apps, it's you. Welcome to the Direct Selling Accelerator podcast. My name is Sam Hind, and I'm here to share with you strategies to get social media to do the work for you to attract new leads, convert sales, and retain people in your business throughout 2026 and beyond. Now, if you are currently running a business, big or small, and you're wondering, how do I actually get social media to work for me? I want to share with you a strategy today that is critically important in 2026 to consider as you're creating your social media plan ahead of time. Now, I know I just said social media plan ahead of time, and I want to also talk a little bit about that today because one of the keywords that we're hearing everybody talking about right now is authenticity. And I really truly believe that when we over plan and pre-plan all of our content and it sits on a content calendar for a week or a month, ready for us to create when we sit down to do our content creation and we're not really feeling in the mood for that piece of content at that time, that for me is the opposite of being authentic. And I'm going to give you lots of strategies around this in 2026 because I really truly believe that less thought, more heart needs to be one of the things that we start doing more of. But that's not what I want to talk to you about today. Today, what I want to speak into is one of the strategies that's going to align you with what the algorithms are looking for right now. And this strategy has been talked about in lots of different ways over the years. The way I like to talk about this is something I call the red thread. And today I want to share with you what is a red thread, how to find your red thread, and how to ensure that it's going to get you results in 2026. So you're not wasting your time, but you're generating leads, you're converting sales, and you're retaining people in your business. And social media is not something that is a hindrance to you, your time in your business, but it's something that supports you, grows you, and moves the needle. So let's get stuck in. Now, as I get into this topic today and we talk about red threads, I also want to mention something that, popped into my mind this morning, a little memory that I had when I attended a social media convention in the United States a number of years ago now. A friend of mine, Mari Smith, got up on stage and she spoke into social media strategies and productivity. And one of the things that, lots of business owners, myself included over the years, asks is, can I just get someone else to do the social media for me because it's so time consuming? And one of the things Murray said that day was, your social media is too important to your business to offload to the marketing team. Now, at first, that kind of struck me as an interesting concept. And the reason it struck me as an interesting concept was because at that time, I was also a consultant to many businesses running their social media for them. But it was that moment where everything kind of made sense because something I had noticed was business owners were giving me content, giving me images, giving me promotions that they wanted me to talk about on social media. But one of the things I was really struggling with was being able to communicate the heart to people looking at that social media content. Here's the thing that's become abundantly clear over the last few years, and going into 2026, I think is more important to remember than ever before. And that is that the other end of that computer screen, at the other end of that mobile device, at the other end of that tablet or whatever it is that someone is looking at your social media content on, it is a human being. It's not a computer, it's not technology, and yet we overcomplicate what we're sharing and we forget that people don't need perfect words. They don't need edited videos. They don't need concise reels. They need to feel a connection, and they buy from people they like, know, and trust. And when we're not showing up as the human version of who we are and we're not sharing our heart, we're not sharing our passion, that becomes very, very hard for someone to connect with your business in a way that creates, number one, a new lead, converts someone into being a paying customer or even a new team member. And of course, retention and loyalty is almost non-existent. And so, one of the things to keep in mind as you create your social media content going into 2026 is that the one thing that's most important for you to remember is that the ingredient you need is not the right words, it's not the right tools, it's not clever editing, it's not technology, it's not cool new apps, it's you. And so, when we remove ourselves from the equation, and it's very easy to do right now with all of these AI tools out there, we're actually removing the one thing that is the ingredient we most need. And so, as we go into this year, I want to just really remind you of the importance of simplicity. People don't need us to be more complicated, and we truly have overcomplicated social media over the last few years to a point where many people don't touch it now because they just feel so afraid of how, and they feel like they don't have what it takes and they're left behind. And, I don't know how to edit a video, therefore I won't do anything at all. And the bottom line is, it's not the best edited videos that get the most watch. In fact, one of the latest updates with the algorithm that we're aware of going into this year is that the platforms are now deprioritizing over edited content. So the less editing you do, in many cases, the better your content will perform. Yes, there are a lot of other things that need to be taken into account, and I'm going to be sharing those strategies and those tips with you. So please make sure you keep following this podcast, because throughout this year, I'm going to really commit to sharing you loads of tools that are going to be useful for you in the moment. We're going to share with you updates. We're going to make sure that you know, how can I get in, get results, and get out? Because you don't need to be spending more time on social media. You've got better things to do. But when you are using this amazing tool to reach more people and share your message and have an impact with your business, you want to be doing it well. So that's what I'm here to help you do. And to do that, today we're going to talk about the red thread. Now, different people will talk about this different ways. You'll hear people talk about pillars in your business, but I'm going to talk about it as a red thread because to me, this is something that it needs to thread its way throughout all of your content. And here's where I'm going with this. We know that the algorithms on all of the platforms are essentially looking to keep people on their platforms. That's what they're there to do. Whether it's Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, YouTube, it doesn't matter. They're looking to keep users on their platform and coming back more frequently. And to do that, they're also looking for content that's going to keep people there. Now, every time you hit post on a piece of content, that algorithm on that platform is assessing your post and deciding who will be interested in seeing it. Now, when we haven't worked out, number one, who it is that we're here to reach, it's very hard for us to know what they're going to care about. So that's always going to be step number one. But where I want to go with this today is the importance of having a red thread, or I think up to 3 red threads throughout your content, because you're doing 2 things. You're creating a situation where, and your red thread, by the way, let me explain this to you just before we go any further and get any deeper into this, because I don't want to lose you already. So a red thread is essentially the conversation that weaves its way all throughout your content. And so when someone comes to your page or your profile or your channel or wherever it is that they're going, they essentially know what are the common conversations you're going to have. The other thing about this is that when you have those common conversations, those red threads that weave their way throughout your content, the algorithm is learning what you talk about, so it knows better who to deliver it to. The reason this matters is I think a lot of people make the assumption that your content is assessed on a post by post basis. And to a degree, it is a little, but it's also assessed on an overall basis as well. So that's why you can do really, really well at 2 or 3 posts and ride on the coattails of that, even though you might have a little bit of a down couple of weeks with your content that just doesn't perform. So what we want to be doing is we want to be testing lots of different things over time. Again, we're going to talk about that throughout the year. There are so many strategies you can employ this year that are simple, easy, and definitely very effective. But the red thread is going to be the key to all of it, because you're showing the algorithm what it is that people will come to you for. You're creating consistent messaging that doesn't confuse people, and you will build a following of people who want to hear more from you because they know what you're about. So the red thread is essentially the topics of conversation that weave their way throughout all of your content. Now, there are a few rules to your red thread, and then I'm going to give you some tips today as well to help you work out what that red thread for you will look like. Now, the common mistake people make is that they come up with loads of different things they want to talk about. They just kind of, a little bit of a scatterbrained, what I call throwing spaghetti at the wall and waiting to see what sticks strategy. And it just doesn't work. It's a waste of your time. It will confuse people, and it definitely will confuse the algorithm for sure. So, waking up in the morning and going, I'm going to post this because it feels interesting today is not a good strategy. We already know that. But a red thread needs to be very consistent. The good news is you don't need to have only one. 3 red threads is a good number of pillars or topics, so to speak, that you can involve in your content, and they will often bounce off each other. So, to give you a little bit of an idea, my red threads in my business are number 1, social media strategies for small business owners. That's an obvious, you know that. That's why you're here today. Number 2 is mums and women in business. And number 3 is courage for women in business. So, family, courage, social media. These are my 3 topics of conversation. And so, any post I create, I'm asking myself, is my red thread weaving its way through this particular post? If it's not, then I maybe need to ask myself, am I deviating too far from the path here? Will it confuse people? Will it confuse the algorithm? Do I need to bring it back? Or simply find a way to weave that red thread back through what I'm about to post. So, number 1, you want to pick up to 3 topics for your red threads. Now, you could just pick one, totally fine, but it does limit sometimes the ability for you to have some flexibility in content styles and strategies. So that's where you also want to make sure that your red threads are going to be broad enough to create some variety. We've talked a lot, and I will continue to talk a lot about you building your recipe on social media. If you are building a recipe that has only one ingredient in it, it'll be a pretty boring recipe, and people are less likely to come back to consume that content. So instead, what you want to do is make sure you've got multiple ingredients applied at different times, in different amounts, in different ways to that recipe of yours, so that it becomes interesting and it's always got people wanting more. They're coming back, they're consuming your content, they're interested in who you are and what you stand for, what you're passionate about, and they feel a connection to you. Remember, you're connecting with human beings. So it needs to be broad enough as well to create a little bit of variety. The other thing to remember about your red thread is you want it to connect with your why. Again, your why is something that is a whole nother thing that you want to get very, very clear on. If you haven't done that in your business, I strongly recommend that you do, because that why is going to be the first thing you want people to get clear on when they go to any social media profile that you have. Who you are, what you do, and why you do it. And don't forget to also share what's in it for them, because everyone's favorite subject, of course, is themselves. So who you are, what you do, why you do it, and what's in it for them. So making sure that you're sharing that why, and that why is weaving its way throughout your content and your red thread as well. And then the last rule to creating your red threads and getting clear on them is making sure they excite you. You know, your energy is infectious, especially on social media. And when you're showing up because you have to versus because you're excited to, that energy comes through in your content. I can tell you right now, the posts where Greg and I are having fun and we're energetically or passionately sharing something, or, showing up in a way that is authentic to who we are, those are the pieces of the content that people talk about. They're the pieces of content that our kids come home and ask about. They're the pieces of content that have you guys commenting and reminding us about, even sometime years down the track. Your energy is definitely infectious. So make sure that the content you create, the red threads throughout your content, are things that get you excited. Remember, it's got to be about you, your heart, your passion, your soul. That cannot be offloaded to somebody else. That's the thing that's going to sell you, because you are not selling a product, a service, or a business opportunity until you sold yourself. No one cares about those things till they care about you. So you need to show up first. So make sure that you're excited about your red threads and they feel connected with your why. So, how do we find our red threads? Well, I've got a couple of really simple questions I can pose to you right now that are going to help you do this. And if you've got a pen and paper handy, or you've got your notes in your phone and you can jot some of these down, do it, because these will help you get some clarity around this. And perhaps up until this point and listening to this episode, maybe you haven't got clear on what are your common conversations that are weaving their way throughout your content. And you're thinking to yourself, actually, this is going to make it a lot easier now for me to create content because now I've got a framework for it. So if that's you and you're really needing to get some clarity here, write these questions down. So the first one is this: what do people already know you for? Now, I want you to think as well about your friends and family. Don't just think about your business, because what you're known for in your personal life will always and also have a relevance in your business. So, one of the things that I will often say when we're training inside of our courses and our memberships is anything that you would be comfortable and would be appropriate for you to talk about at a dinner party is appropriate for you to share on social media. I used this example the other day where, selling and promoting on social media is a little bit like walking into the dinner party and standing on a table in the middle of the room and telling everyone at that dinner party that you need their attention because you've got something you want to tell them about. You wouldn't do it in a social setting. Why do you do it on social media? So we've got to think about, these are people that we would socialize with. So what's appropriate to share? So if it's a conversation you would naturally have at a barbecue or a dinner party or catching up with a friend over coffee, then it's a great thing for you to incorporate into your social media content. So what do people already know you for? What are those common conversations? So the next question, and this leads into it really easily, which is, what do you talk about naturally? What are the things that you love to talk about? And another thing to keep in mind here is sometimes one of those red threads won't be directly related to your business and what you do. Your red thread may be a common interest that you recognize you have with your audience that helps you connect. And that interest may not necessarily be directly associated with what you're selling or what you're doing or what you're promoting, but it's going to help you attract the right people, which is why it's also very, very important that you get clear on who you're speaking to. And that in itself is a really powerful journey. Once you've started that, it's also a really, liberating and exciting thing to do, because the more you understand your audience, the better you can serve them as well. And the more successful your business will be. Remember, the algorithm already knows everything there is to know about all of its users. And so it goes without saying, we also need to get really clear about who our audience is. Because if it already knows all that stuff and it knows what you and I want to see, in order for you to get in front of your person, which might be me, you need to know what to post. You need to know what I'm going to care about. You need to know what that algorithm is waiting for to show me. So these things matter a lot more than I think what we give them credit for. Now, the third question you can ask yourself here, I've got 4 questions in total. So the third one is, what do you want to be remembered for? This kind of comes back to your why a little bit and your legacy, but what is the impact you want to make? What do you want to be remembered for? But I'm also going to give you a little twist on this as well, because people will always remember how you made them feel well and truly before they'll remember what you said or what happened. This is why first impressions are so important and they last so long, even if they're completely unintentional. The thing you've got to remember about your social media is that it's going to have an impact on your audience, whether you're intentional about it or not. This means that your audience is going to feel something even if you didn't mean for them to feel it. So you might as well show up intentionally rather than accidentally. So what do you want to be remembered for also means, what emotions do you want to trigger in people when they see your content? And how does that relate then back to your red thread? For me, you heard me share one of those words with you, and that was courage. I want people to feel more courageous and confident in themselves after they see my content. And so my red thread, one of my red threads is courage. And so when I'm creating a post, if I'm sharing something, a thought, an experience, I will often weave that um, uh, courage red thread through it, whether or not it is me sharing a story, a piece of my story, a thought, or an experience, I will make sure that I'm weaving courage into my content, because that's one of the emotions and feelings I want people to have when they walk away from my posts and from anything that I do in my business. It's a red thread everywhere that I go. So, what do you want to be remembered for? And then the last one is, what are you passionate about? Again, passion is something that I think in business we're becoming a little bit more aware in this day and age of its importance. But I feel like over the years, it's become a little bit of almost a taboo topic. It's like you can't really do just what you're passionate about. You can't just share what you're passionate about, because work is work, right? But here's the thing. When you do the things you're passionate about, you are more productive, you're happier, your energy is better, you have a greater impact. And so you were put on this earth to share what you're passionate about for a reason. So don't hold back from that. Get excited about it. If you're passionate about it, share it. You've got a legacy to leave and an impact to make. I was talking with one of our Rise Up in a Circle students yesterday, and she was really struggling with a feeling of a loss of excitement around her business. And one of the things that I asked her about was why she started in the first place. And she shared a story, a personal experience that she had around health and wellness, and how she'd been using products that had been negatively impacting health in her family. And she discovered a new company that had a product that allowed her to still enjoy these particular things, but in a healthy way that wasn't negatively impacting. And she realized at that time that she needed to share that message with other people, because for many years she was unaware of how the choices she was making within her home was impacting her family's health. And now that she had that knowledge, she realized that she needed to share it with others. As I was asking her to share this story, I saw her face light up, and I could see that it was a story and a passion that she'd been holding back from sharing. Maybe because she felt like people didn't want to hear it, but also perhaps because she didn't think it was important. The things you're passionate about are the most powerful things that you can be talking about in your business. You've always got to be careful about how you share them, especially in the instance where you're talking about health and wellness and you don't want to make claims and be non-compliant, etc., especially online. So do be very careful of that. But where I'm going with this is, your passion is your power and your energy is infectious. People will feel it through your content. So ask yourself, do my red threads have my passion in there, or do I need to find a way to insert it? For me, I'm passionate about women stepping into their own strength and stepping into business. I am passionate about helping people share their message on social media, and I am passionate about breathing courage into people to know that they have got what it takes. That I am super passionate about. And so when I share these red threads, I hope you can feel that passion and that energy, because it's there genuinely. So your red threads are going to be not only the things that help people pay attention to you, that give them clarity around who you are, what you do, why you do it, and what's in it for them. Remember those 4 things, but also training that algorithm to show your content to more people, because it knows, hey, when Sam shows up, she's going to be talking about social media strategies for small businesses. Therefore, we're going to show her content to people interested in that topic. So make sure that you've got some clarity and some consistency around your red threads. So my suggestion to you is, take this information, go away, get a pen and paper and brain dump out some ideas, get some clarity around this, answer those 4 questions that I gave you, and get really clear on your strategy moving forward into 2026, and then work backwards. Once you know what your 1, 2, or 3 red threads are, from there, how are you going to create content? What ingredients are you going to insert into your recipe to reach your dream customers and have an impact this year? I promise you, get clarity around this. It is going to make it so much easier for you to create your social media plan moving ahead. But also remember, we don't want to overplan what we're doing. If you walked into that dinner party and you were chatting with someone naturally about those things we spoke about, what you're passionate about, what your why is, the things that you talk about naturally, you wouldn't stop and pause before every sentence and think about, how can I perfect what I'm about to say? So be very mindful when you show up on social media. If you overthink it, you probably need to take a step back, shake it off, come back, and just be you, because that's what people want to see when you show up. So I hope you found this episode today useful. It's a quick tip for you, quick listen. Make sure you go away and do something with this, whatever it is that's popped into your mind or resonated with you today. And remember, we're going to be sharing so many more strategies over the coming weeks and months as we see some very, very big shifts in social media this year. And I know this will continue with AI becoming more and more prominent in the platforms. So I'm going to keep feeding you strategies that work right now so that you can be more productive, get better results, and move the needle in your business this year. So that's it from me. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. Make sure you subscribe and share this with a friend that you know needs to hear this message today. I'll see you again next week. Bye for now. Thank you for joining us in this episode of the Direct Selling Accelerator podcast. If you love listening and you found that this was helpful for your direct selling business, please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can also check out the recommended video that's popped up on your screen right here. I look forward to seeing you again next time. Bye for now.